I had questions for Adam that I thought was going to be really good with his marathon training, but he's not here today.
Fuck him.
He's not here today.
Yeah.
All right. Welcome back, everybody.
Another episode of The Forge.
I'm BJ.
I'm Austin.
And I'm Michael.
Wow, he got it.
We got
he
it.
did it. Three of us today. Number 4 is down and out. I think he said he ate too many Pop-Tarts, or I wasn't supposed to say that part out loud. I don't remember which part he actually wanted me to say. Yeah.
It's actually past his bedtime, too, so that was a part of the problem.
It is. It is 7 o'clock currently. He goes to bed at 3:15 sharp on Sundays.
Whether the sun is down or not.
So Adam's not here with us today, but we're getting together. You did not get an episode last week. I apologize, everybody. Somebody was a little ill, a little under the weather.
We ruined things.
But hey, life happens, right?
Yeah.
Life happens. So we're here today. We are going to give some updates on how the workouts are going, how our current fitness journeys are progressing. And then we've got something we want to talk about centered around routines, building those habits, and what actually goes into forming something that's sustainable as well. All right, I'll go first. Workouts. So as you all know, I've been on this cut now for 2 weeks. We have been on cuts now for 2 weeks. Michael's tracking his calories, though, too. I want to talk about that in a second, how that's going, if he's even still doing it. But I've been on this cut now for 2 weeks. It's going pretty well. I'll say that the first week overall was way harder than the second week. Not just from a planning perspective, but just from like a general overall difficulty. I felt like I was a lot hungrier in that first week overall. But I will say this, and I made this comment to my wife the other day on Thursday or Friday. I absolutely am noticing that earlier in the week, I am way hungrier. Earlier in the week, I am less hungry than I will be on like Thursday, Friday, Saturday, where I get like so much hungrier. So in that first week, and I'll give this in the vlog cut update, which I'll be filming tomorrow, but I only was given 50 additional calories each and every single day. I'm going to guess they're going to go up again. I don't know. They might not. If it doesn't, it's going to suck a little bit, but we'll survive. But as far as the workouts go, they are going swimmingly. I am loving them. They feel fantastic. I'm glad that I switched to a pure bodybuilding routine before this cut because I'm not focused on the numbers with regards to how much weight I'm lifting or, how, I guess really just how heavy these things are. I am truly just focused on the contraction and getting the most out of each and every single movement that I am pursuing for that workout. So the numbers might go down week to week. They actually have gone up, which is pretty surprising, to be completely honest. But the workouts I am getting day to day are just, they feel so darn good. We did a leg day yesterday.
Yeah.
It was supposed to be my off day from lifting, but I just said I'm going to do the off day today instead of yesterday. And that was a fantastic workout. My legs were really sore this morning when I went to do cardio on the bike. But I'm loving it. It's feeling great still. The workouts aren't suffering from the cut in any way. If anything, I'm still growing, so to speak. And I'm feeling pretty damn good. What about you, Austin?
Yeah. So I think we're going on now, and I'm going to pull up my app so I can keep track of it all. We're officially at 3 weeks of me tracking everything officially. So, I've hit the consistency there. Overall, since the beginning of the cut, I'm down, I think, 4 or 5 pounds total. So going well there. I'm on track with our Mexico trip. I think it's actually day 2 now. We're falling a little bit behind, but we also have only had one check-in to adjust calories. So I'm sure we'll adjust to kind of keep on track there. But going well. Workouts are going smooth. We had a fun leg day yesterday. We weren't able to do everything quite the way we wanted to, but we made it work and had fun on the Stairmaster, which was horrible.
Oh my God!
Don't do it.
So good.
Wait,
did
did
like
you
25
Stairmaster?
Yeah.
So we
Did you do this
At the place.
Okay.
You know the one.
Munch Mitness?
Because I
We
know
won't say its name.
I know BJ has wanted a Stairmaster for a while, and if he got one, I figured that would have been in the chat for like 3 days. So.
Yeah, so I'm going to be completely honest here. Austin was like, it's supposed to I have this he's like, I have this leg day. This is the workout that I want to do. And I was like, no, we're not doing that. I want to do these things because I haven't been to a commercial gym in 4 years. I had literally it'll be 4 years in March since I've been to a commercial gym. And I was like, we're not doing that. Number one, I didn't want to do it again because the last time we did it as well, we did squats and deadlifts on the same day, and it was just exhausting. I knew what I
Yeah.
wanted to hit that day for me, and I knew it was going to be a good workout for Austin too, because really just any kind of workout's going to be good for both of us at this point. But I specifically, no matter what we did, I knew I wanted to finish with the Stairmaster. So we
Yeah.
ended up doing 15 minutes on the Stairmaster after, and it was so
It was like
brutal.
22 to 25 flights of stairs, I think.
Yeah.
When we finished.
Yeah, it's a lot. I tried it out at the beginning of ours, and I immediately was like, "This is too much of a leg workout to do like before my actual workout." So
Yeah.
I went
Yeah.
back to the rowing machine because I was like, the rowing machine I feel like is mostly cardio. It gets me warmed up for a couple of minutes. The Stairmaster I was like getting tired on.
I think the rowing machine too, like you can change the intensity pretty easily to be a bigger workout or focus on the cardio. Like if you try to push
Yeah.
your speed on a rowing machine, it will work you out a lot more. But if you're going for
Yeah.
consistency, you can just do the cardio.
Yeah, it's
But-
the row machine is a great warm up thing because you don't have to go too hard. Austin, to your point, it doesn't need to be this like workout. You don't have to push too hard, but you can still like you use your legs, you use your back, and you're using your arms to. I mean, you're really truly using just about every muscle.
Yeah.
and that gets
Yeah.
the blood flowing so good through your whole body. I love the rowing machine in general. But Michael, to your point, I have a tendency to just overcook it. And I'm like, great, now I'm getting like an actual whole body workout.
It's an actual workout now. Not,
Yeah,
not
exactly.
just the warm up. Once I only do 10 minutes on the rowing machine, and if I were to try to do the same thing on a treadmill or something like that, I feel like I'd have to do. I used to do half an hour when I was doing things, 5 years ago, but now I think I can get away with 10 minutes on a rowing machine and feel like warmed up, ready to go, and go right into it. Whereas with a treadmill or an elliptical or cycling, I don't think I would be able to do quite the same way.
yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So have both of your calorie counts and things for your cut updated week to week?
So we've only done it once, I think, right?
Yeah, so they will update every week. When you're on any kind of cut or bulk, you're gonna want to keep an eye on it from a week to week basis, and that's why they really encourage people, and I encourage people to focus on the weight that you've gained or lost in a week's time span. Day to day, everything's gonna fluctuate quite a bit, but week to week,
Yeah.
that's gonna give you a true average of like how did you perform over the week. And actually, Austin and I were talking earlier right after dinner, and we were talking about how there's going to be those days where maybe you're a little bit lower on your calories, and there's going to be those days that you're going to be higher. But over the course of the week, what does that average look like? And the MacroFactor app actually will show you that if you go and look at it. What is the average total for your calorie
Yeah.
allotments? That's really the most important number. If you can keep that steady to wherever your goal is supposed to be, that's going to be the most crucial to your overall progress. And that's also why we focus less on the day-to-day scale weight and more on what in MacroFactor they call it the trend weight.
Right.
The trend weight is, hey, yeah, you had a day when you were like a little over, you weighed more maybe than you did yesterday, but you're still overall trending in this downward trajectory, assuming that the next day that weight's going to be lower again than maybe you were today. It all equals out. It's all a big math formula. And in the end, we're all going to hit our goals.
Yeah, and like today, I'm over calories today, but like over the course of this week, I've been consistently under. Like Monday and Tuesday, I was like 800 calories off because I was sick, and so like with that, you look at the week trend, and it's like, yeah, today I pigged out on the taco stuff that BJ made, but it overall this whole week I did really, really well. I did well today, except eating too much at dinner because I was starving, and is fantastic, but. It's the trend that absolutely matters compared to that one time where you're like, okay, I deserve taking something and having a good day and rewarding myself for doing well throughout the week.
Totally. I'm curious, BJ, you said that like you found this rhythm where you're hungrier like towards the end of the week. Do you see based on those dailies that you are like eating less and then like how does that happen? Where does that reset come where it like restarts and you don't feel hungry anymore at the beginning of the week?
So this is something I think I talked about right before we actually started the cut. I knew in general that on the weekends I'm going to end up eating a little bit more food or wanting a little bit more food. That's just the past experiences that I've had with this. Mm-hmm. But I don't feel like I have felt that strong of a hunger urge as I have in this cut in those later days in the week. Normally I feel like it's pretty negligible. Like it's like I'm noticeably a little bit more hungry on a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, but like not like the end of the world, This time it's like, dude, you're freaking starving and you need to eat food badly. So I am eating. I have been eating extra calories so far 2 weekends in a row. Every single weekend. Now, last weekend overall was way more. This past weekend we had a holiday Christmas party for work on Friday night. So I ate as well as I could. I ate a ton of prime rib, basically, and a little bit of mac and cheese, and I had 2 or 3 bourbons. So I know that, and I didn't end up tracking any of it because I couldn't weigh it out, so I don't actually know how much I ate. So what I did in Macro Factors, I just left it blank. So rather than put anything in, because that'll mess it up if you're not if you're not even a little bit close to it. If you're way off, it's going to mess up your calculation. It's better to leave it blank in that sense. And then instead of putting in the food, though, I did put in my scale weights for the morning. Thankfully, the hotel we were in had a scale in the bathroom, which was great.
That's nice.
I would have left it blank, but it was there, so I used it. And I was 1 pound heavier than I was the day before. But then today, yesterday morning, I was a pound lighter. And then this morning, I was also a half pound lighter. So it obviously already equaled itself back out. You had that momentary blip, and then it dropped back down.
Yeah.
So on the weekends, so far, 2 weekends in a row, I've definitely eaten more, Michael. And I've eaten roughly between 300 and like 500 calories extra on those weekend days. But then Sunday night, I'm right back to I'm right on track. I'm on my target. I'm not going to go overboard.
Yeah.
I'm fine. And I've had like 1 or 2, some people would call them like refeed days. You don't need them every week, I don't think. But it's going to be a little bit easier over time and get closer and closer to just staying consistent through that week. I'd be surprised if it's even really that far away this time next week.
Yeah.
Tell me about your workouts. What have you been doing, Michael? I actually haven't heard a lot from you about your workouts. I think I've only seen in our fitness chat 1 or 2 posts.
You've only sent us 2 pictures nude.
Letting me down.
It's been
letting me down.
I mean,
listen,
listen, I send my workouts every time I work out. I work out, Monday, Wednesday,
Take your
Saturday.
clothes off
now.
when you're doing them like a real man does.
I was gonna say I don't always send pictures, because I work out at the YMCA and they don't appreciate phones coming out.
Oh, I thought you were going to say they don't appreciate half naked men, which I was like, that surprises me because I feel like a large population of naked old men live in that locker room.
That's their core audience is naked men in the locker room there.
100%. No, there's plenty of those around. They just don't appreciate you whipping your phone out while all that's going on around you. So they're like, no, don't do that.
See, I do it when I get home though, so there's no excuses. Don't give me that.
I also I've talked to Kelly about this. That's not a thing that I particularly think about or care about. For me, it's so much more about just the routine of doing them. Every time I do them, I feel better, and I don't necessarily, I don't know, taking pictures doesn't feel as necessary for me.
Sure.
See, Michael,
but
I
the
think
workouts
the important thing to remember is it's not about you. It's about us. Give the people what they want, but go on.
Tell me about the workout.
Yeah, tell us about the workout.
No, the workouts themselves have felt great. I feel like I've said a couple of times that, my leg day felt fantastic. Yesterday was more of the whole body workout, felt really well. I was sending messages during the workout of, what I was focusing on and really slowing down.
You did say something though the other day that was it's been so surprising to me seeing you guys talk about this stuff the way you guys are, but you specifically said oh my God, I've been focusing on the eccentric portion of this movement and it's just killing me in the best way possible. It's you're really feeling it.
Absolutely.
Well,
I've told you I found
Sorry.
Dr. Mike.
Yeah. Mike Ishratel.
Yes. Yeah, I have definitely fallen down the YouTube black hole of watching his videos, and it's great because, I mean, from what I've seen and you've said, he gives really solid advice, and truthfully, when you start watching more and more of his videos, there's a very clear repetition of mistakes that people are making that he calls out and explains, and so hearing those same things over and over again, him talking about the elongated version of a muscle versus the shortened version and how much more important it is to go all the way to the end of the rep. I'm going to repeat some stuff. Put your muscle in the most physically disadvantageous position possible to then pull back, and how much like if you're going to be doing, if you're feeling it and you're going to be doing partials, that like bottom end partials are so much more effective than top end, and like really trying to focus on like slow eccentric movements, and these things that just keep repeating over and over and over again. And I have found that almost immediately they make their way into my thoughts, like as I'm actually lifting.
Yeah.
I start noticing a lot more like, oh, okay, slow down. Like I don't need to just let it fall. You know, if I'm doing, you know, leg extensions, I don't need to just let it fall back down. I need to slow, you know, that descent and things. And it does. It makes it. I was doing leg extensions actually specifically, and I had that moment where my legs started like cramping up, right? You know, as I was going down, and I was like, not in a bad way, because I could feel I could still push farther, but I was like, this is definitely more intense than I have ever done these same lifts before.
I think that's exactly what it was. I think that's what you had messaged us about, actually, was those leg extensions.
Yeah, it was for sure.
And I love that you're you know, it's interesting to me now looking back on it. It shouldn't surprise me that you took to his like videos so quickly, because you're a teacher, right? You're a science-based person, right? And at the end of the day, that's what people like Jeff Nippert are all about, that science-based lifting. And there's a place for the bro science. Don't get me wrong. There's plenty of bro science that I follow. Little things that we just like, oh, I have to. It's like superstitions, right? I have to do it that way because like that's what BJ needs, whatever. But the thing I love about Dr. Mike and Jeff, it's all science-based lifting, and it's true science-based lifting, like peer-reviewed research studies,
right?
Not like I did a study and I'm not going to really share the results with you. It's like, no, they actually have peer-reviewed studies, or as well as they can be. And they actually recently just put out a video, I think a day or two ago now, where the two of them are giving like basically like fact or crap opinions on some of these trends in the fitness industry right now. I'm pretty interested in watching it. I haven't been able to watch it yet, but I'm interested to hear their takes, because they don't agree on everything. Like they're not like unanimous agreement from the two of them on every single kind of concept. But when it comes from a pure bodybuilding standpoint, they're pretty aligned. And these principles are for bodybuilding. You know, there's a reason, you know, a power lifter would train partial reps, or, you know, like
the advantages to different types of those things.
Yeah, targeting specific functions. But for bodybuilding, lengthen it, lighten the weight, and to your point, Michael, you said it, like getting in the most disadvantageous position where that muscle's as long as it possibly can, and you've got to work as hard as possible to move probably a whole heck of a lot less weight.
Well, and Michael, you were talking about leg extensions. After watching that, because I can't remember which one you had sent us. Was there one with The Rock? I think.
Yeah, I think that was one of the first ones that I watched. No, the second one I watched. Yeah.
Yeah, but the point being, we're talking about slowing down and focusing on it. That was something that they focused on in the Rock video. And then went in, I think that was the day that I went in for my second pull day that week. And like noticing me do those different things, and then also seeing other people do them not that way. And being like, oh, well, see, I'm comparing, and obviously like everybody's going to be on a different journey with it. But you can see like the things that as soon as you start focusing on them, you can notice yourself doing differently, like you were talking about, but you're also able to like identify it in other people as you're watching and seeing how they're doing movements. So
absolutely,
it's definitely a prevalent thing in the entirety of the community for sure.
It's a point that I often bring up when I get requests to do form feedback online, and people will post a video of themselves either on Reddit or other forums, and they'll say, hey, critique my form, you know, let me know what I could do better. And it's one of the things you see probably earliest on for new lifters, is them effectively just dropping the weight.
Yeah.
Whatever the movement is, wherever they have to actually fight gravity, you know, in a squat, on the way down, on a bench press, on the way down, that portion of the movement is so important to control. The same goes for a deadlift. Now, the work for a deadlift is the opposite. It's going on the way up. With the squat, it's going on the way up as well, but you have to fight it on the way down. Bench, it's on the way up. It's all of them. I guess I should restart this. You're always fighting gravity when you're lifting these weights, but people will leave that literally on the table when they're on the way down, and you'll see people squat and just like they're gonna hit the floor and then they just bounce off the ground.
Yeah.
The same thing with
Right.
the deadlift. If you can do that slow, controlled descent, you're literally, the phrase I always use is you're literally leaving work on the table by not taking advantage of that portion of the movement where you're not fighting anything.
Well, I think of it as kind of like the lazy way to do things is to do fewer reps and get a better workout. So like if you're going slower and you're doing them correctly, you're getting a better workout. You don't have to work out as hard. Yes, you're working out as hard, but you don't have to do as much effort and thought and training to get to the same point because you're doing it effectively. You're being more effective with your workout by doing it that way. It's like, I want to be lazy. I want to do the best I can quicker.
Right. I think one of the things that he brought up, the Rock video, was a lot because the Rock was starting with heavier weights, and then as he was failing, he would take a little bit off a lot of times and do a little bit more. And then as he was failing, and I think the dip one really got me because the
dip thing was really cool.
Right, he was doing dips, and finally he couldn't lift himself up, and so he started doing the controlled eccentrics, and it was that moment of like, oh wow, yeah, okay, you still do have more in there that you could do if you know how to like load it properly and like put yourself in that position. And the idea of like not focusing so much on the weight and focusing more on, like you said, Austin, getting the most out of every motion. You know, I was doing preacher curls that I do a lot more now because they kind of really isolate my arms and not my shoulder.
Not your shoulder.
What?
No, I was saying not your shoulder. Yeah.
Gotcha. And really focusing on like going all the way to the end of that stretch and then back up. And if that means I have to drop a couple of pounds off, that's fine. You know what I mean? I still feel it working very, very well. And I was telling Kelly, I feel like somebody like Dr. Mike probably is one of the best people for someone to listen to when they're first starting, because he just absolutely cuts shit out. He's just like, you know, you'll be watching the videos and they'll say something and he'll pause it and he'll just be like, bullshit. And like, it's so nice it's when you really, I think we've talked about before a little bit about the daunting nature of like starting to lift and starting to work out. And I feel like his videos make it feel a lot more doable because it feels like a lot of the extra like complicated lifts that you see people do and all of these like very interesting like setups that they do, he just kind of pauses and says like, I mean, listen, that might be good for them. You don't have to do that. You can just do X, Y, and Z, and it will get you a great, workout.
Well, and I think he's really good at communicating his ideas very well. Like he's clearly taught for a long time to where he's able to communicate those ideas effectively, which I to your point again is for a new person that's just getting into the gym that might not understand everything, he's really good speaking to those people and being able to cut through the bullshit and really make sure that it's clear to those people quickly, which it's very effective. And I mean, how many videos have you watched? Like 6 hours, 7 hours of his now?
I think I've probably watched like 9 or 10 of his videos the last couple of days, and I think it's been very helpful to really change the way that I think about, am I doing enough? Am I doing the right things? And really stopping not worrying about that stuff as much, and instead worrying about, this is what I can do, this is what I feel comfortable doing, and I'm going to do that to the best of my ability. And I mean, it feels, like I said, the workouts have felt really, really good. Every time I end and I feel drained, I feel, tired, but I feel like it went well. So
good.
Yeah.
The good drained. Like, I put it all out there.
I think one of the cooler things about people like Mike and Jeff, and there are some others out there. There's this, I'm forgetting his name right now, but there's this Australian guy I really like as well. You said it, Michael. They just kind of cut through the BS, and they're getting right down to like, that might work for you. Also, here's some alternatives or some things to consider. And the unfortunate thing is that those guys are generally drowned out, and gals are drowned out by the sea of
bunk science,
flashy bunk, sexy, what extreme, whatever it is they're doing, their shtick is to get the view, to get the engagement on social media. You know, Mike's not very flashy. You know, to your point, he kind of just sits there and goes, "Pause. No, that's dumb." Now, don't get me wrong. Pausing those things and like telling people that they're wrong, they're dumb, they're whatever it is, you know, whatever comment, that's gonna get like someone's gonna clip that and post that somewhere. And that's definitely gonna get attention. Don't get me wrong, but it's not the same as like here's this
same audience.
Yeah, here's this stupid guy doing. There's this one dude on, I think he's on TikTok. He tries to do these deadlifts. I'll try to throw a clip of it up right now if I can find it. But he'll do these crazy setups where he's like bouncing on a unicycle or a skateboard, and he's got like a hex bar with 2 dumbbells on it, or 2 barbells and weighting on rubber bands and all these other things. And it'll have like the caption will be like, you know, training for the League of Legends competition in 3 months or something stupid like that, right? It's silly. It's obviously not a real lift or any kind of like real workout, but these people have the ability to influence and push people in the right direction. And I think the earlier you can find people that resonate with you, you can start to obviously figure out what works for you. And you're obviously both figuring that out. You're figuring out what you need. You're figuring out what's not going to work for you, what you enjoy about these things. And I love that. And that's really the whole point of what I wanted to create. And Austin and I are moving mountains to create right now with starting this gym and this community, is to not only bring people together and give them a space to have a community, but also provide people the platform, ability, and space to share information with one another and kind of help one another cut through the BS, because there's just too much BS out there. There's just way too much stuff for somebody to sift through, and it's overwhelming. You know, you do a search online for like best men's lifting routine 2023, and you're going to find like 15 articles that are sponsored, all of which are probably copy and pasted from last year. They just changed the title of this year's post. But it's overwhelming. You don't know where to start. At the end of the day, you kind of just got to start something. But to have these people to listen to who are like, yeah, this might work for you, but also maybe consider these things. Try this, try that. That's such a huge, huge, huge win for any new lifter to be able to have, especially when you can listen to them and feel like you can trust them. Well, that's where I'm going to do a flame kind of cut across the screen with like some crazy like NASCAR flames to do this transition, because what a perfect way to transition into building habits. That's what we wanted to talk about today. And I knew we were going to find a natural way to transition into this. I knew it was going to be seamless. People wouldn't even notice it. Our wives are going to be like, I loved the podcast and loved how you tied in building habits and rituals out of this.
The segues are probably the best thing about this show.
Speaking of Segway, today's title sponsor, Segway.
Sponsor us or else.
Who has the ad read? I thought somebody had an ad read.
Oh shit! Oh, that was Adam.
We are not sponsored by Segway.
Do you want to get somewhere fast and efficient? Don't choose Segway. Sponsor Segway. We're waiting for your call.
For legal reasons, we are neither medical professionals, lawyers, or sponsored by Segway. Don't take our advice. So let's talk about building habits. I wanted to talk about building a sustainable workout routines, but I've actually changed my mind since I originally wrote that idea down. And now I want to just talk about like what, for all of us, because it is different, goes into building a sustainable routine, whether that's in the gym, out of the gym, fitness related or not. What goes into building a routine for you guys? Because I know what it takes for me, but I'm curious, and I guess I'll start asking Austin first. Like, what is it for you? You want to start a new routine. What do you know about yourself to enable you the best chances of actually succeeding in building that routine?
Well, so I have the non-routine routine. I always have. So I'm like routine adverse in a lot of ways because between my wife and I, we are bad at planning things.
What?
So I know.
What?
So I am usually pretty good at general goals. So like when we're talking about building a workout routine, if I say I want to work out 4 days a week, I can figure out in a week how to do it. I will not plan it. But so that's where a lot of my routine building comes into play, is setting up a general goal for a week or a time frame and then fitting it in. That's how I operate. So the thing that we've been doing, and it has worked pretty well the last couple weeks, is trying to do better about us setting aside time on the weekend, specifically Sunday mornings. We have been getting together, and we're working on our diet. That's our new piece of the routine that we're really trying to focus in on, specifically because the cut started. That's where this kind of pulled in. but we've tried to get better at building the routine of getting our diet figured out for the week, what we're going to eat, and through setting those small goals, that's how I build repetitiveness and build those habits. Because once I form a habit, I'm really good at keeping it. The hard thing is building it for me. I think what's the timeline, everybody? 8 weeks,
21,
10 weeks?
21 repetitions.
Yeah, whatever it is. That's not how it works for me. It's like 30. It takes a lot longer for me to build the habit, but once the habit's there, it's very hard for me to break.
Breaking news. Once Austin builds a habit, he has a habit.
Well, but no. I'm saying like it's a stronger habit than other people's habits. Mine's
So
like
wait,
a
Austin,
habit.
are you
If
saying
I'm
that you're
hearing
just
you-
like built differently?
I'm built different.
The last thing I need is him ripping his clothes off in my basement and like flexing it and a built different. Would you say the most important part for you in building a habit is just the scheduling of it at the onset?
No, I really no, because I don't do schedules. That's not a thing. It comes down to finding something that is motivation to me, and you know, like working out prior to us having our team together to help motivate. It was hard to keep that habit. That wasn't something that I could do. As soon as I have a good motivation to do something, I will make it work. And that's the thing is I committed to, I think originally 4 days a week. I think really I'm over 4 days a week. I've built the habit of working out consistently to where it's just a regular routine. And that's the thing is when I'm going throughout the week, I'm trying to just plan around all the random things we have, because between our friends and family, like there's just so much going on. So I have to work around that. But setting a goal early on in the week of what I'm trying to hit is where I'm setting myself up for success every week. So tomorrow morning, I'm going to get my breakfast. I have a cup of coffee before I go to work, and I sit at my desk, and I usually think through what's going to happen throughout the week. So we have swimming on Monday nights, not working out Monday night, not going to happen. So that means I've got 6 other days to figure out where that workout can fit in. And that's generally how I make sure that routine makes sense is I think through, okay, well, Friday night we're going over to Michael and Kelly's. So if I'm going to work out that night, I've got to either get it in earlier. Maybe I try to get it in during the work day, or I'm going to have to do it after we get home, which never works out. So I never pick that option. But that's how the routine is being built. It's me focusing on what is that goal for the week or the general period of time, and trying to get it early in the week where it's on my mind, and that's where I'm able to really set those things in motion, is because now I've kind of set myself up to constantly be thinking about those things to reach that point, which I know is the opposite of actually building a routine because it's not scheduled.
Well, no, you've got a plan. But
Yeah.
Go ahead, Michael.
Yeah. And I think you bring up a really interesting point of when you are building those routines, identifying, honestly, the way that you kind of phrased it was the options that are not actually options. And like finding those things that it's like, yes, this is technically an option, but I know myself and I know I am never going to do it ever.
Yes.
So like I have to take that option off of the table, because like you said, if you leave it up to like, oh yeah, maybe I will just work out when we get home, and it's like, no, I'm not. I can't plan on that. I think that like that is a form of building a routine for you to like acknowledge the times that you know are not going to work and not like falling back on those.
Yeah, because we're going to start with me, and we're going to have an example of like a horrible way to set a routine, because that's not how I operate in general. But yeah, I think that to what you're saying, Michael, that's really the key, is like focusing on like a Saturday night workout is never going to work for me, because one of my friends is going to invite me to hang out, and we're going to hang out until 6 or 7 o'clock, and then I don't work out after that. I work out in the evenings, but it gets too late and I'm lethargic. I'm not going to do it on a Saturday. So
Yeah.
Saturday morning workouts have been a staple. Like that's been the big change for me, because as you guys know, I'm not a morning person. But
Oh, really?
I
Peg you to be
do.
one.
You don't say.
I do. Yeah, I do morning workouts though on Saturday specifically, and Sunday sometimes. And that's the thing, is like I now that I have these set ideas of how my week's gonna go, I'm able to take that time and say, I hate waking up in the morning and doing things, but I can do a workout on Saturday morning because I've got the motivation to do it. where I wouldn't before.
So it's really less of a rigid plan for you.
Oh, absolutely.
And more of a, hey, I've got these boxes.
Yep.
That I know I can do this, that, or this in, right? And
Yeah.
maybe I'm not able to do that Tuesday, but I know that if I don't do it Tuesday, then I'll be able to do it on this time on Wednesday or this time Saturday morning, etc. And when it comes to building something sustainable, it's not necessarily about a rigid plan, because especially for people our age at this point, early 30s,
Late 20s for some
late
of us.
20s, it's not really going to be realistic to say this is going to be the hard plan every day, every week. And I've structured my life in a manner that's, hey, I wake up literally first thing in the morning to get my workout out, so that I can do that every single day at the same time, to have that rigidity, because there would be no other time that I could have that rigidity. In fact, the times I have to be most flexible is when something prevents me from getting that morning workout in. The other morning, our son woke up at 3 a.m, decided he was going to stay up till 5:30, just stare at the ceiling like a psychopath. So I'm just hanging out with him till 5:30, and then I finally get him down, and I'm like, okay, it's 5:30. I could still get a workout in, but it's going to be like half-assed. It's going to be really short, and I'm not going to be like completely there. I'm just going to take my rest day to day and then make the rest of the workouts, what I'm going to do. I was going to try to work out that evening. Didn't end up happening because it was a crazy work day. I was utterly exhausted. I was barely keeping myself awake by the end of the day. And so I structured it to the next day. I fit it in the box as best as I can. It's not going to hit it every single time on the mark, but we've still got some kind of a routine on a week-to-week basis.
Yeah, I think you need more of that.
That's the sort of thing that I can't handle. Again, mornings is one thing, but like the rigidity of your routine is what would kill me. Like trying to do something like that, I would break, because if I am not able to do something like that I have to have scheduled like that, it would not work with me, and I would fall off really quickly.
Yeah.
So that's the difference between you and I, and just how we function. But Michael, what about you?
Yeah, Michael, you've got like a way more almost, I'm going to use the word like
child-filled.
Yeah, I mean, you have 3 kids, so you have a lot more to structure around. I feel like day to day that like you have to structure around that stuff. And I feel like that alone makes it almost more difficult for you to have a rigid routine. But at the same time, on the same coin, I could flip it over and be like, but maybe that means you actually have to have more of a rigid routine at the same time.
Yes. So I was going to say, that's the weird part about my schedule is I only have limited options. And with limited options, there is a freedom of saying like, okay, well, this is literally the only time I can work out. So guess when I'm going to work out? Right. Now. Like I don't have to, I mean, listen, there is options. Like Austin said, if I miss my workout, I could go in the evening.
Sure.
I don't want to, once we get home, like we normally get home by about 4:45, 5 o'clock, because, I'm picking up my oldest son from first grade, picking up my 2 younger sons from daycare on the way home. Then we're coming home with all 3 kids who are usually hungry and tired after being at work all day. We leave the house if I leave the house by 6:20, I'm like running late. Yeah. And like that time before 6:20, we have to get all the kids ready. I say we, because like luckily Kelly and I are both on that same like time frame. Sure. So it is very busy and it is very like rigid, but it also kind of helps because like, okay, so for example, we're looking at diet. I have to bring all of my food with me at 6 o'clock in the morning. Like by 6 o'clock in the morning, all of my food except for dinner and maybe some snacks at night has to be prepped in my, lunchbox. And to talk about, you were talking about how like I started tracking my food, and I told Kelly there's been a couple of days that I have like gotten everything ready and I've picked up my lunchbox and just been like, am I really gonna eat all of this food in a day? Like, good Lord.
I am.
And I always, absolutely. I replaced a lot of my snacks with like PB&J sandwiches because they're easy and I can eat them forever. Like I love them.
Yeah, I love PB&Js.
They're so good. And so my schedule, I know, right? my schedule is so different from your guys's because you guys both work from home. So when you do your meal prep, it can kind of, I mean, your schedules are, I've seen some of your like, planners and stuff. Some days your schedules are literally like overlapping meetings sometimes and things like that. Other days there's more, leeway and stuff like that. But mine really is like every single day I'm going to be at school for the exact same amount of time. We have to wake up. Everything has to be ready. So like my workouts are very routine, just kind of automatically of I work out Monday and Wednesday. I like BJ, you kind of said that, at our age, things can definitely change. But like one of the nice things is, unless someone's sick, I will always have the exact same amount of time between when my school is over and when my son's school is over. So that's a routine that is just, it is built into my schedule that I can try to work around. And it's worked out. It's not quite long enough as I'd like it to be, but it is nice.
So Michael, Kelly is also working on her fitness stuff now, and that's got to affect your schedule there. So how are you guys balancing routine to be able to give both of you guys time?
Great question.
Because obviously, how long are your workouts typically lasting? Like an hour, maybe a little bit longer?
Yeah, they're about an hour. But again, on Mondays and Wednesdays, by the time I get to the Y and all the things, I feel like I'm always rushed. But they're about an hour.
Yeah. So with that, and Kelly's doing a certain amount of running every day. I'm not sure how much she's getting in, but how are you able to balance that with your routine there? Like, is that something that's planned for both of you guys to be able to go, or is that something where you're just kind of fitting Kelly's time in? Like, how's that balance work there?
So hers is a bit more unstructured just because her goal is a monthly goal as opposed to like a weekly, routine. So if she is not feeling it, if she is just too tired that day, she'll kind of bump it and try to just do a little bit more the next day. It's tough because she's working a second job now. So the days that she works in the evening, she's talked about like, I cannot go work out in between school and my second job. I would she just can't physically get through the entire day at that point. She's too tired.
Yeah.
So, but at the same time, she does have also some time right after school. She gets out a little bit before I do. And we've worked it out that like on my drive home, I drive right past our children's daycare so I can pick them up and make it home. Yeah. So once her school is over, she has from that point until about 4:45 that like no one's going to be home. She comes home and takes care of the dogs and things like that. But it's a great time that she can just go straight to the Y and work out.
So she's got that focus time that she can have for her.
Right. Or if it's a nice day, she can come home and she can do her walking just like around the neighborhood or things like that. So that's why I said she's a bit more flexible because, she changes up where she walks. I mean, I guess at this point with the weather, it's mostly inside, but and then, very importantly, Saturday morning, we are also on that track. We set aside the time to go, and again, the Y has the daycare that we can like take all of the kids, and then me and her can go work out for like an hour and a half ish. That's kind of why I do my full body workouts on Saturday, because if I need to take an hour and a half or a little bit longer, I can do that day. It's a little bit more flexible. So
well, it sounds like Kelly is starting to do some lifting as well as her walking too when you guys are having that day.
She's trying. Yeah. She's trying to like, as it's really just about how she's feeling, fatigue wise. And I agree that as she gets stronger and stronger and she gets more used to that regimen, I think she's going to keep upping the mileage that she's doing, but also adding in some more things that she wants to try, which is fantastic.
I think she said she did legs with you on Saturday some after
a little bit,
she did running. Yeah. So very cool.
So yeah, I mean, and she's been doing fantastic with her. She's also on the same, cut, losing weight type diet. And she's been doing fantastic with keeping track of that and seeing some real like progress. So it's good stuff.
Don't tell her that we think she's doing well, though. She might.
Well, I was going to say, you're going to have her on next time. If Adam drops out, especially, she can just join in. We'll just lock the kids somewhere. They'll be fine.
I feel like she'd be too shy to actually get on and do this, but who knows? Maybe she will one day.
She doesn't know that it's not a shirtless podcast either.
I was gonna say, here's the thing: you guys were all very surprised. Like, I forget who it was like very surprised to see her desk just full of the angry cat, the grumpy cat stuff.
It was Adam. He was surprised. Yeah,
and it was like, listen, she comes off shy, but she is one of the most sarcastic people I have ever met in my life.
Absolutely.
So. No, I think she would have a great time talking about stuff. Yeah.
I loved actually hearing how she's structuring her goal. I actually didn't know it was a monthly goal that she had set. I thought they were actual just weekly goals. But I love the idea of somebody structuring whatever their fitness routine, health goal is, and not necessarily like a daily goal or even a weekly goal. You know, those seem so obvious to me as like, let's start with that. Let's aim for like 2 workouts this week, right? But
yeah,
maybe the correct move for a lot of people is just like, hey, my goal this month is to work out 10 times. And maybe that is the logical place that some people have to start due to their schedule restraints, those types of things. Maybe that's just the realistic thing of like, hey, there's going to be some weeks that I'm going to be able to do 2. There might be some that I'm able to do 3, maybe 1 where I can only do 1 workout. Right. But I love the idea of just building, kind of like what you were saying at the beginning, Austin, like, hey, I'm going to commit to getting something done. I know it's going to happen on these days or could happen on these days. I'm just not entirely sure. Yes. And I think you're a little bit beyond that at this point. You know, you're like, I'm going to get these things done. It's just a matter of where and when, you know. But for some people, maybe they don't know exactly what it is they're going to get done in a week. Maybe they're only going to be able to commit to that month. And I think that's a perfpely acceptable timeline for people to try to achieve.
Well, and how long has Kelly been on this?
You first, it's about 3, no. Because she was doing it last month. So this is her second month doing it. So 2 months.
That's what I thought. I thought it's been 2 months.
Yeah, and I think, you know, to the point between like BJU versus Kelly, you know, you guys are on completely opposite ends of the spectrum. Absolutely. Which is hilarious because you guys, I feel like, have bonded so much in the chat. But like, you are at a point that, like you've kind of talked about, if you don't go in with a rigid, like planned out workout, it's just going to feel, you're just going to like, I don't know, I'm just kind of here and it's going to be terrible. Yeah. And you're not going to enjoy it. You're not going to get what you need. Kelly, I think being new to it, just showing up and doing something is where she needs to start.
Oh my God, yes.
And if, to kind of Austin's point of, if you have a really rigid schedule right from the beginning, if you fail, it feels like you're just kind of done.
It breaks it.
And it
breaks it right away.
It breaks you.
Right. And you don't have that habit built up that like you said, BJ, you know, if you miss one of them, you have such a strong habit built up that you're just like, okay, well, that was unfortunate, but like, I know I'm going to make up for it,
right?
You know, in the future. If you don't have that habit built up, having a bit more of a lax program, but with the emphasis being on, I am going to hit these kind of broad goals and really striving to hit those goals could help you to stay a little bit more positive and feel less like, oh man, I fucked up, like I missed this week or whatever.
Well, like Kelly's definitely ahead of schedule for this month on her walking. So, and that's the thing is like, she's got built-in leeway already from the first couple weeks, to where she's going to get to the end and have that hit of, you know, positivity of like, I hit my goal, and that's going to carry over into next month and make it easier to maintain that habit and build it even stronger.
I think I want to challenge the idea of it being lax or not.
Yeah, I didn't like that word
exactly. In that way. Yeah, it's not necessarily the wrong word. I think the right word in my mind though is forgiving. I think the right word is the not the laxness of the plan, but the ability to be maneuverable, right? You've got the ability to bend one way or the other. And I also want to clarify, like when I don't get a workout in, it's not that I'm like, meh, it's okay, I'm gonna move on.
Oh no, I know that.
I know that's not what you're saying. I just want to say that like when I didn't get the workout on Wednesday, I was pissed off.
And you made it known too.
I was pissed off. I genuinely was, and I wasn't mad at my son or anybody. I was just like, I genuinely was disappointed in myself. I'm like, you could have gotten a 30-minute workout in. You could have gone and done that, but you decided to just like chill out instead because you were only going to get 60 minutes or whatever, like you came up with an excuse, right? That's literally what my internal monologue was. And then at the end of the day, the whole day, I was like, maybe I'll try to get one at the end of the day. And I knew that was very, very slim chance of that actually happening just because of how I was already feeling. I hate missing those workouts. However, we do just gotta pick ourselves up and keep moving. We got to keep just moving on. There's nothing we can do. And that's what I actually had to say to myself. I had to literally stop myself and say, there's nothing you can do about this anymore. You can't change it. You got to move on, pick yourself up by the bootstraps, and get on with the rest of your life. Tomorrow is going to happen. You can make up for it then, and everything's going to be fine.
Yeah.
But I think what I love and what I want to end on for this episode is this idea of just going out. And Michael, you said a piece of this. I kind of want to finish the sentence almost. Just get out there and do something. Go do something, to your point. Kelly might not have this rigid plan lifting weights when she goes there in the gym. That's perfectly fine. Some people just need to like go do it, whatever it is. Maybe you don't even know how far you're going to walk or run or climb or lift or whatever it is. You don't need to, but just go out there without a plan and go do something. Hell, if you want to go lift arms for 45 minutes, go do that. 15 minutes, whatever the number is, just go do something. And then slowly over time, you can build a sustainable habit that's actually centered around quantifiable things where for somebody like me, like you said, Michael, I need those quantifiable objectives. I'm going to lift this for this many sets, for this many reps. I'm going to lift this weight. I'm going to do these exercises so that I can continue to progress versus just going in and messing around like we did yesterday.
Yeah.
Loved workout. Great workout. We definitely got work done because I know how to structure a workout and build a workout on the fly. But the average person doesn't need to be that rigid every day or even any day when they're trying to just build some kind of sustainable habit that's going to bring them better health, better happiness, whatever it is.
When I think with that, on getting that final routine, being able to make the routine stick is about celebrating the successes of those routines.
Yeah.
So when you're able to hit your marks, like Kelly at the end of the month, when she hits her goal, and being able to have obtainable goals, the SMART goals that you can actually achieve and make that routine feel like you're profiting from it. That's what's going to help keep that routine stable over the long run.
Yeah. All right, everybody. Another episode of Forge down and out. We are approaching the end of our time here. It was another great discussion. We missed Adam. I think we talked about Kelly for at least 25% of the podcast today. I'm sure she's going to love that.
Hot.
Very. And we hope we left you with some nuggets. If you have questions on Spotify, you're able to leave us questions and comments. Please do. Don't abuse it. I know our friends and family are going to abuse that, so I'm just going to accept my fate and accept that even Austin, I know that look on his face. He's going to write some stupid comment, some question answer thing at the end of that episode.
For the engagement, man.
For the engagement. Drop us a question. Drop us a like on YouTube. Leave your comments on YouTube if you want as well. We appreciate all the engagement. If you have something you want to hear us talk about, let us know in the comments. We'd love to get some ideas from you all, and we hope to see you next time. Thanks again.
It's not going to be pretty. We're not going to actually air this episode. Yeah.
And I think it's very interesting.
Nope. Stop for a second. Stop. Michael, I was in the middle of a good thought.
What?
Hit the chat so that I don't, every time I look at you, see the new chat message beeping in the corner because I'm fucking ADD.
Wow.
I was going to say Austin's having an ADD moment.
Every time I look at BJ on the screen, it's flashing above his head, and I keep seeing it, and it's distracting. Sorry. Okay.